Imagine a galaxy where empires clash under blazing stars, and a human prisoner, scarred and forgotten, steps into a storm of deadly energy bolts to save an alien queen he barely knows. He's no knight, no hero, just a man with nothing left to lose. She's a ruler, untouchable. Yet her heart cracks open when he bleeds for her. This is the story of Ethan Cole and Queen Sarissa, a tale of sacrifice, loyalty, and a bond that could reshape a cosmos. Buckle up for an epic ride that'll hit you right in the soul. The Grand Plaza of Valara's citadel glowed under the violet twilight of triple moons, its obsidian tiles reflecting light like a sea of stars. Banners of the Krithar, Dominion, crimson gold and amethyst fluttered in the warm breeze, their sigils shimmering with bioluminescent threads. At the plaza's heart stood Queen Sarissa, the unyielding sovereign of 1,000 worlds. Her sapphire blue skin gleamed. Her silver hair cascaded in intricate braids, and her golden eyes burned with authority. Clad in armor of liquid metal, etched with runes of her lineage, she was a living monument to Krythar resilience. Her court nobles, generals, and advisors watched from tiered balconies, their whispers a hum of awe and fear. Beyond the citadel's walls, enemies of the Dominion plotted their ambition, a gathering storm. Sarissa addressed a delegation of rebel envoys, her voice a melody of steel. Submit to the Dominion or be erased from the stars. The envoys, a mix of Zorath and human defectors, shifted uneasily, their defiance faltering under her gaze. The air grew heavy, a wrongness prickling the senses. A faint hum, barely audible, cut through the breeze. Then a scream of energy, a barrage of plasma bolts erupting from the citadel's spires. A traitor's ambush launched from hidden perches, aimed at the queen's heart. The court gasped. Guards raised shields too late, and the envoys scattered. Sarissa stood unmoved, her golden eyes locked on the incoming death, too proud to flinch, too regal to run. Everyone froze except him. Ethan Cole was nothing in the eyes of Valara, a human prisoner taken from a conquered colony. He stood among the tribute brought to the citadel, a silent figure in tattered gray robes, his hands scarred from years in Dominion labor camps. No title, no weapon. Just a lean frame hardened by survival and eyes that burned with a fire the galaxy hadn't extinguished. He'd been a farmer once on a Terran outpost before the Dominion's war machine burned his world to ash. Now, he was a ghost. His name erased his purpose, reduced to obedience. Yet when he saw the plasma bolts streak toward Sarissa, he didn't think he moved. Ethan sprinted through the chaos, past petrified guards and screaming nobles, his boots pounding the obsidian tiles. One heartbeat too. The first bolt was inches from her throat. He threw himself in front of her, a human shield against a storm of fire. Pain exploded as the bolt slammed into his chest, the force spinning him. Another struck his shoulder, searing flesh. A third grazed his thigh. Blood spraying, Ethan stumbled, but didn't fall, planting himself like a wall between the queen and death. His teeth gritted, his breath ragged. He stood firm. Each hit a hammer, blow, each scar a vow. The barrage ceased as quickly as it began. The traitor's ambush, thwarted by hidden Dominion snipers. The plaza fell silent. All eyes on the human, still standing still, shielding her blood, pooling at his feet. Ethan turned his head just enough to meet her golden eyes, his voice a hoarse rasp. "You okay, Your Majesty?" Sarissa, for the first time in her reign, was speechless. Her throat tightened, her heart a drumbeat of awe and confusion. No Crethar, no noble, no warlord had ever stood between her and death without expecting reward. But this human, this nobody, had bled for her without orders, without hesitation. His legs buckled the bolt's venom, burning through his veins. Sarissa caught him before he fell, her armored arms strong, her royal gauntlet stained with his blood. The court gasped their queen, cradling a prisoner, an act unthinkable in Valera's rigid hierarchy. "Hold on," she whispered, her voice breaking a sound no one had ever heard. Ethan coughed blood, flecking his lips, but grinned faintly. "Told you, I'm stubborn." Darkness claimed him, his body limp in her arms, and Sarissa stood there, human blood soaking her armor, realizing some loyalties can't be forged by crowns. They're earned in sacrifice. The court watched in stunned silence, nobles and generals alike, their whispers drowned by the weight of what they'd witnessed. Guards rushed forward, forming a protective circle, their shields gleaming. Sarissa's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and unyielding. "No one touches him. This human is under my protection." The command echoed a decree that shook Valera's foundations. Medics in flowing silver robes swarmed, easing Ethan onto a hover stretcher, their tools humming as they stabilized his wounds. Sarissa knelt beside him, her presence a storm of regality and resolve, watching as they extracted the plasma shards, each wet pull a silent scream. Ethan fought unconsciousness, his scarred hands clenching the stretcher's edges, his jaw tight even in pain. "Hold still," a medic urged, voice soft. "Not my best trick," Ethan muttered, his voice a faint spark. Sarissa's lips twitched, a flicker of a smile. Her first in years. "You've done enough," she said, her hand brushing his, a gesture seen by all igniting whispers of scandal and awe. As the medics wheeled him away, Sarissa stood, her armor glinting, her golden eyes blazing. She turned to the court, her voice ablade. "Let all who witness today remember, loyalty is not born of titles or bloodlines. It is forged in sacrifice. This human has earned what many of you never will." The nobles bowed, some reluctantly, their eyes darting to the blood-stained tiles. Ethan didn't see it. He was already slipping into the dark, not broken, not beaten, just bloodied, but unbowed. The citadel buzzed with rumors, the court divided. Some saw Ethan's act as heroism, others as a threat to Crethar supremacy. High Counselor Vorin, a Crethar elder with scales like polished amethyst, seethed in private, his influence challenged by a human's reckless courage. "He weakens her," Vorin hissed to his allies. "A queen must be untouchable, not tethered to a savage." Sarissa, alone in the citadel's healing chamber, ignored the whispers. The chamber's glass walls stretched to the sky, letting in the pale violet light of Valera's moons. Ethan lay on a bio-bed, his body laced with regeneration, mesh, his chest rising in slow, stubborn breaths. The soft beep of the heart monitor was the only sound, a rhythm that anchored her. She removed her gauntlets, her bare hands trembling, a vulnerability she despised. She'd built her reign on strength, her pride a shield against betrayal. Yet Ethan had exposed her fragility. not by wounding her, but by bleeding for her. Flashbacks haunted her, his body shielding hers, bolts tearing into him, his eyes never wavering, clear and defiant. He hadn't moved for glory or reward. He'd moved because he believed she was worth saving. She whispered to his unconscious form voice, barely audible. You disobeyed me. You endangered me. You humbled me. Her pride rebelled, but her heart cracked open raw and unguarded. She'd warned him to stay in the shadows, a prisoner with no place in her court. You are not permitted to act, she'd said, her voice a command. He'd bowed, his faint smile unreadable. Understood, he'd replied, yet when death came, he chose her life over his own, without permission, without fear. His sacrifice was a mirror reflecting a truth she'd ignored. Power without trust is a hollow throne. Footsteps echoed behind her. General Clive, her most trusted commander, bowed, his crimson armor gleaming. Your Majesty, the High Council demands the human's removal. They claim he undermines your authority. Sarissa's jaw tightened, her golden eyes a storm. On whose authority? Clive hesitated. Counselor Vorin. He fears the court sees weakness. Silence fell heavy as the moons above Vorin, with his honeyed words and hidden daggers, had long coveted her throne. He'd use Ethan's act to sow doubt, to paint her as a queen swayed by a human. Sarissa's voice was ice. Prepare a ceremony. The human will be honored. Clive blinked, shock breaking his composure. Honored, Your Majesty? Sarissa strode past him, her cloak whispering against the floor. Let them see what loyalty looks like. Let them remember what I stand for. The ceremony was a seismic shift in Valara's history. The grand hall of the citadel was a marvel of Krathar architecture. Crystal arches soaring to a domed ceiling. Banners cascading like rivers of light. Nobles, generals, and council members stood in glittering rows, their murmurs a tide of awe and unease. Ethan stood barefoot on the central dais, cleaned but unarmored, his dark trousers and bandaged torso, a stark contrast to the court's opulence. His scars, raw-stitched, crisscrossing his chest and shoulders, were a testament, a defiance written in flesh. The court whispered their voices, sharp with disdain. A human, a savage, a tool, not a symbol. Ethan heard every word, his face calm, his brown eyes steady. He stood tall, head high, not for pride, but for her, because he knew what his presence meant. Sarissa entered and silence fell like a guillotine. Her sapphire skin glowed under the hall's sunstones, her silver hair a cascade over robes of crimson and gold, sigils of her dynasty shimmering. Her presence was a storm, fierce and unyielding. But her expression was different, hard-focused, with a fire that silenced even Vorin's allies. She climbed the dais, standing beside Ethan, not before him, not above a statement that shook the hall. You see weakness, she said, her voice echoing off the crystal arches. You see broken flesh, a reminder of fragility. She let the words settle, her golden eyes sweeping the court. You are blind. The nobles stiffened their whispers, dying. Sarissa's hand rested lightly on Ethan's shoulder. Her touch, a declaration. These scars are not weakness, they are strength. You have never earned loyalty, you have never offered. When death came, this human did not hide, did not scheme. He moved without permission, without hesitation. Her gaze locked onto Vorin, a dagger of intent. That is the strength this dominion needs. Ethan spoke soft enough for her alone. You don't have to do this. Sarissa's lips curved a rare smile. You didn't have to save me. But here we are. She turned to the prime scribe, a Krythar elder trembling under her gaze. Record this, she commanded. From this day, this human shall be known as the Shield of Valara. He shall have rights equal to the royal guard, a place in my council, and stand not behind me, not beneath me, but beside me. Gasps rippled through the court Vorin's face, a mask of fury. Ethan stood straighter, not from pride, but from honor, because for once, someone didn't just use his strength, they respected it. Sarissa leaned closer, her voice a whisper. Scars speak louder than oaths, Ethan chuckled, wincing as pain lanced his ribs. Yours scream across galaxies. Her smile widened. Don't disappoint me, Shield. He met her gaze steady despite the pain. I'll try not to. The ceremony ended, but its echoes reshaped Valara. The court bowed, some reluctantly, their eyes darting to Ethan with awe, envy, and fear. Sarissa and Ethan left the hall together, side by side. No guards, no parade, just two warriors who knew what it meant to bleed for something greater. His limp was slight, but he refused assistance, and Sarissa respected that, more than words could say. In the Citadel's heart was the sanctum, a private chamber known only to the monarch and their chosen. No throne, no riches, just a pool of shimmering light reflecting Valara's moons through a hidden skylight. Sarissa led Ethan inside her armor, glinting her presence softer, here stripped of the court's demands. She was still the queen, but also a woman who'd seen her own fragility. Ethan, bandaged and barefoot, felt out of place, his scars stark under the light. I didn't do this for rewards, he said, voice low. Sarissa's golden eyes softened. Neither did I. She knelt, a gesture that stunned him, her robes pooling like liquid fire. From beneath her armor, she drew a sigil, a band of woven crimson and amethyst etched with runes of her bloodline, unseen by the court, recognized only by the stars. This is the true mark of my dynasty, she said, holding it between her fingers, the metal catching the chamber's glow. Each monarch adds their mark. It's not about ruling. It's about protecting, choosing someone you trust with your life. She fastened it around his wrist, the band loose but heavy with meaning. Today, I choose you. Ethan stared, skepticism warring with awe. I'm not one of you. Sarissa laughed, a sound like bells in the wind. Good, you're better. She rose, placing her forehead against his. A Krythar gesture of sacred trust, rare for any outsider. Flashbacks flooded him, the bolts tearing through him, her arms catching him, her voice breaking as she held him. I don't know what to say, he whispered. Then say nothing, she replied, her breath warm. Just stay? He hesitated, then smiled. All right. For a while, their bond grew not as queen and subject, but as equals bound by scars and choice. Sarissa faced the court's unrest, Voron's schemes simmering in the shadows. Ethan trained with the Royal Guard, his human resilience earning grudging respect, though whispers of savage lingered. He sparred with Clive, the general's crimson armor, a blur, their clashes, a dance of steel and trust. Sarissa watched her pride tempered by fear. Voron's allies plotted their loyalty thin. One night, a second ambush struck drones infiltrating the citadel, programmed by Voron's hand. Ethan and Sarissa fought side by side, his rifle steady, her psi blades, a Krathar weapon flashing. Sylra's empathy disoriented the drones, her glow, a beacon. They thwarted the attack, exposing Voron's treason. Sarissa exiled him, her decree final, her authority unchallenged. Years later, they stood on Valara's highest spire, the triple moons casting violet light over a dominion at peace. Sarissa, still queen, ruled. With a new humility, her council diverse with humans and Krathar. Ethan, the shield was her partner, his scars, a badge of honor, his voice, a steady guide. Their bond forged in blood, tempered by trust, was a legend, inspiring a galaxy to rethink loyalty. Ethan's journey began as a prisoner, a human with nothing but scars and stubbornness. Sarissa, an untouchable queen, learned her strength through his sacrifice. From a plaza of death to a spire of hope, they proved humanity's greatest gift: the courage to stand for another no matter the cost. This story teaches that true strength lies in choosing to protect, not for reward, but for belief in something greater. Ethan and Sarissa faced death and doubt, yet their bond built on sacrifice and trust changed an empire. In our world, we face division, fear, and selfishness. Their tale urges us to stand up for others, to act with courage, to choose connection over gain. Offer a hand to someone struggling. Defend a stranger's worth. Believe in the good that's worth bleeding for. Your courage can spark change, just as Ethan's did for Sarissa. Be the shield, not for glory, but for love. If Ethan and Sarissa's epic saga lit your soul on fire, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell to join our sci-fi crew. Your support fuels more HFY tales packed with hard action and galaxy-shaking vibes. Drop a comment. Did their bond move you? Or want more cosmic battles? Let's keep the stars burning. Peace out.